Recently, Bureau of Indian Standard has published new earthquake zone of India. It sparks huge tremor among the people. The new map include entire Himalayan arc extending from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh in newly introduced high seismic risk zone. As per the new map, 61% of India's land area is under moderate to strong earthquake shaking intensities. It will affect over 75% of country's population. Actually, the new earthquake map is a part of Bureau of Indian Standard 1893, which considers earthquake resistant structures. As per report of United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, India stood 7th most earthquake affected countries in the world. Total 58 earthquakes held between 1990 and 2024 in India. As per our National Disaster Management Authority, between 1988 and 2005, 7 earthquakes of magnitude 6 or higher held in India. And in this earthquake, more than 25,000 lives across India have been lost. Over 95% fatalities occurred in non-engineered buildings without the involvement of qualified engineer or architect. However, Indian Standard Code of Practice was published long before in 1962. Up to 2016, we have completed almost 6 revisions. But why are we at the risk? Is the previous standard inadequate to provide protection of buildings or the loophole in the regulation and enforcement? Welcome friends, I am Dr. Suman Kumar Kundu and you are watching my channel Why, Where, How. Chile and Japan, situated in Pacific Ring of Fire, where 90% of world earthquakes are held. However, they have experienced much lower fatalities than expected. They set the example how strict building codes, engineer design and preparedness can save the life. In 16 September 2015, when a great magnitude earthquake of 8.3 hit Chile, caused only 13 deaths. A scientific article from Geological Society of London highlighting that at present there are 10 Himalayan segments in India which are capable of generating great earthquakes of more than 8 magnitudes in Richter scale. If such earthquake occurred at night in this highly populated region like Almora, Dehradun, it could result extremely high casualties, potentially exceeding 1 lakh deaths. They highlighted the root cause of such fatalities as population growth, replace of wooden structure with concrete frame structure, and more importantly, improper earthquake resistance standard. In this potential high earthquake prone Himalayan zones, our Indian earthquake resistant building codes 2016 provide lowest base share in compared to other Himalayan countries like China, Pakistan and Nepal. Base share of a building depends on 2 factors. The first one is seismic weight, which depends entirely on type of building, and the most important second one is horizontal seismic coefficient or the zone factor where the building constructed. The earlier division of Indian standard mainly considered fixed zone value and it is calculated by deterministic seismic hazard approach. But the latest 7th division adopted global standard. It uses site-specific and hazard-specific approach. The earthquake zone map published by BIS shows the intensity of earthquake which causes damage and it is expressed by peak ground acceleration or PGA. PGA is the maximum acceleration experienced by ground during an earthquake and it is measured in terms of gravity. To compute the PGA, first the country divided into 33 seismic zones. The zonation is based on plate boundaries, faults, past earthquake locations and tectonic features. In the next step, newly introduced probabilistic earthquake hazard assessment method has been used to calculate the PGA values. For that, approximately 30,000 grid with 0.1 degree into 0.1 degree spacing across India and neighboring countries has been drawn. In the next return period of 2,475 years has been assigned to PGA values for each grid point. And what is the return period? The return period do not mean an earthquake comes exactly once in 2,475 years. Longer return period corresponding to more severe shaking and thereby it means added security. In 2001 Bhuj earthquake, Ahmedabad locating 250 km away from the epicenter of earthquake suffered severe damage due to loose and unconsolidated soil. To address it, a site amplification factor multiplied with each PGA values. Simply, softer rocks represent higher values, as metamorphic and igneous rock 1, sedimentary rock 1.15, lateritic layers 1.35, and alluvium soil assigned with 1.50 values. Finally, a contour map joining equal values of PGA produced for the entire country, and from which 5 zones have been assigned with distinct PGA value, with ranging between 0.15 G and 0.75 G. In the new map, the entire Himalayan arc covering cities like Srinagar, Jammu, Leh, and all the state capitals of Northeast India fall within highest seismic risk. Very high seismic risk covers densely populated plains of Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, and Himalayan Darjeeling and Siliguri town of West Bengal. National capital Delhi and Gurgaon, Noida, Ahmedabad, Patna, Kolkata falls under high seismic risk. However, the cities of South Indian state including Chennai and Kochi along with our business capital Mumbai follow a moderate seismic risk. In this new revision of BIS 1893, besides structural elements, minimum required standard has been introduced to protect architectural elements such as ceilings, windows, stair enclosure, electrical and plumbing system, firefighting system, elevators, generators, pipeline, etc. Because it is experienced that in earthquake, even when a building stays standing, people can still be injured or killed if architectural elements or equipment break loose and fall during an earthquake. Now the question, how does the earthquake resistant building code come in force for public safety? Bureau of Indian Standard publishes National Building Code or NBC as a model code since 1970. The earthquake resistant building code, that is BIS 1893, is a part included in that NBC. However, National Building Code is not an act itself, that violation of which is treated as an offence. It's simply voluntary guideline which will came into force when concerned state authority incorporate NBC in their building bylaws. It is because as per 7th schedule of Indian Constitution, decision on land and building as well as legislation to municipal or panchayat bodies are state affairs. The ground scenario in India shows that mere inclusion of National Building Code in building bylaws is just a paperwork, because Himalayan state falling within highest seismic risk zone have showed discrepancy till date. Popular tourism destinations like Dalhousie, Manali in Himachal Pradesh do not have any earthquake safety regulation in their building bylaws. The other popular Himalayan towns like Simla, Mussoorie, Srinagar follows earthquake safety regulation in their building bylaws. But in ground, there are no strict enforcement laws to check and ensure the adoption of prescribed earthquake safety provision as specified in Indian standard. As per Uttarakhand building bylaws and regulation, buildings in Mussoorie were limited to 3 stories and 11 meters in height, while in Nainital, the cap was even stricter at 7.5 meters. However, a study by the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, in 2017 found that many buildings violated these limits, with some rising to nearly 20 meters. Even Disaster Management Authority personnel of Uttarakhand admired missing link between regulation and enforcement in the system. Not only imposing new building regulations, the reduction of earthquake risk also related with retrofitting of old structures. In 2014, NDMA issues guidelines on seismic retrofitting, and it mandates retrofitting of government-owned buildings such as hospitals, schools, transport, utilities, and government lifeline structures. However, no specific budgetary allocation has been covered in this purpose. As a result, these guidelines largely remained at the policy level. In 2017, an expert committee report submitted before the National Green Tribunal admitted that 83% of lifeline buildings in Himachal Pradesh state capital were unsafe. After 7 years long gap, in 2024, only 20 BTS era buildings were selected for retrofitting by Central Building Research Institute, Roorkee. An academic research under Uttarakhand Disaster Recovery Project conducted in 2019, highlighting that 64% of critical infrastructure and lifelines under Uttarakhand government will become non-functional immediately after an earthquake. It needs immediate reconstruction and retrofitting. In February 2025, Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh in Rajya Sabha highlighting that retrofitting of government-owned buildings like hospitals, schools has been a focus in post-Bhuj earthquake. However, after a year passed, still there is not any report found on standalone central assistance regarding retrofitting of lifeline structures in very high earthquake risk zone or elsewhere in India. The cost of avoiding earthquake-resistant structure fell during 2001 Bhuj earthquake. It not only affected Bhuj district but Ahmedabad, despite of being located 250 km away from the epicenter of earthquake, have recorded massive losses. Around 130 modern RC buildings collapsed in Ahmedabad without having any seismic compliance, whereas many government-owned buildings made earlier that had been designed in accordance with the prevailing seismic code suffered little to no damages. This is the problem in India till date. Illegal construction have repeatedly emerged as a national concern. News report from multiple states of India highlighted how institutional corruption in enforcing strict building laws grabs the society. To protect the buyers and ensuring transparency in real estate sector, Government of India enacted Real Estate Regulatory Authority in 2016. Although land and local bodies are state affairs, but laws governing property transfer, contracts and interstate commerce are shaped by centre as per Constitution of India. In the backdoor, RERA made it possible to follow the earthquake-resistant design in building bylaws in India. It is mandatory to register in RERA portal for the projects having land size more than 500 square meter or apartments more than 8 units. To register in RERA portal, it needs government approved plan, and the plan should comply with model building bylaws as approved by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. However, main limitation with RERA is that it does not cover the land size below 500 square meter or apartments below 8 units. Using this loophole, a number of discrepancies found all over India. In Tamil Nadu, right after the implementation of RERA in June 2017, an ongoing project split into different small phases for bypassing the RERA Act. In Delhi, when RERA registration made compulsory for low-rise building from April 2022, it was think that NBC compliance will improve. But in the ground, the opposite trend has emerged. Many builders are avoiding RERA registration. It proved that there is a persistent gap between regulation and enforcement in all over India. However, unlike urban area, there is not any uniform nationwide regular building code for rural India. As per latest census of India, 68.84% of total population live in rural areas, and there are 4,681 villages in India where population exceeds even 10,000. A compiled data on the last 120 years earthquake incidents in India shows that out of total approximate death count in India, above 60% of casualties occurred in rural areas. Among the major earthquakes, the highest fatalities occurred in 1905 Kangra Valley, 1934 Bihar, Nepal, 1993 Latur Killari region, and 2001 Bhuj region. The death counts in this quake ranges between 6,000 to 18,000. Step has been taken by Ministry of Home Affairs jointly with UNDP on building construction and safety provisions to natural hazards for rural areas. However, there is no such provision for strict enforcement of these guidelines. In India, citizens demand for cost-effective building, political interference in real estate projects, corruption, and limited government manpower for surveillance the projects turn safety resolution into a paperwork only. Even apex body like the National Disaster Management Authority of India was found ineffective in functioning most of the core areas. It was mentioned in a report by Comptroller and Auditor General of India or CAG in 2013. And recently the most alarming response came from Cabinet Secretariat, a letter addressing to Chief Secretary to all states that compliance with NBC 2016 is not mandatory, and the letter citing a task force to pursue deregulation and compliance reduction to promote ease of doing business and ease of living. It will effectively weaken the enforcement of building safety norms. Ease of doing business has already ensured. As per assessment of JLLBT, a leading US-based global real estate consultancy, India evolved as topmost improved country in Global Real Estate Transparency Index in 2024. A Canada-based real estate consultancy firm, Collier, projected institutional investment of $5 to $7 billion from foreign and domestic investors in 2025 and 2026. But who decides what truly constitutes ease of living when even a government body like the National Disaster Management Authority admitted that growing population and more importantly extensive unscientific construction, including multi-storied luxury apartments and huge factory buildings, keep the country at high risk. In recent time, Turkey set an excellent example of how enforcement failure can lead massive destruction. In 2023, two massive earthquakes of magnitude 7.8 and 7.5 struck Turkey. It killed more than 53,000 people. A similar earthquake in 1999 had also claimed around 18,000 lives. And surprisingly, in between these two, an earthquake in 2011 has also claimed 604 people. During this earthquake, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan publicly blamed municipalities and supervisors, calling their negligence nothing less than murder. But any real corrective action did not follow in this time. Subsequently, poor enforcement of 2019 earthquake-resistant building rules and failures to retrofit old and unsafe buildings turned the 2023 earthquake in Turkey a national catastrophe. At present, Bureau of Indian Standard is at the preparatory stage in revision of National Building Code 2025, and it will include earthquake-resistant design of structures. As per policy, BIS has published draft NBC in their website for wide circulation and comments on it. However, strong criticism over this draft came from Karnataka Professional Civil Engineer Consortium. It covers nearly 5 lakhs engineers. They blamed Union government move to weaken the National Building Code and branding it a dangerous decision driven by ease of doing business pressure and vested interest. So far we have seen National Building Code of India 2016 has suffered from missing link between regulation and enforcement. In such situation, further dilution of National Building Code can only invite catastrophic consequences during an earthquake. The question is simple: are we ready for that?